the report? What are the key findings of this report?
Okay, number one thing, I think I was here sometime last month, and we're looking at different sets of figures, and everybody said in July there was a decrease, but one thing about agriculture in Nigeria is we keep saying is rain-fed, and so there are circles. So I said, well, expect higher numbers in August, and that's where we are. But generally speaking, prices will continue to rise. If you look at the year's figure, you're looking at something like 16 point something %, and that's what should be worrisome, not listen. But there are many factors driving that. Nigeria's population is increasing. The amount of land that we're farming has since remained a bit static. Technology and best practices are not getting to the farmers, as fast as they should. We still have about 40% post-harvest losses. I
was actually going to come up to that, because when you talk about the fact that Nigeria's population keeps increasing, meaning there's more mouths to feed, and the lands we farm on, we're encroaching on those lands, but then we still record wastage. So is it really a question of the population here or management of agricultural produce that we get? It's
management of agricultural produce. It's not that people have an excess and they waste it. No, far from that. But number one, the infrastructure, to keep produce for any length of time is generally not there. I think, to put it better, 80% of farming in this country is done by smallholder farmers, people owning less than 2 hectares. Now, for them to hold their produce over time, they normally would hold them either in barns or things, and it's open to different pests and weather conditions.
Then transporting is another issue entirely. Packaging
entirely another issue. So if you want a quick fix, then would want to see things like warehousing receipts and stuff like what FX is trying to do in the market actually come to fruition. People who actually know how to handle and hold should handle and hold. Farmers should farm, but farmers should also get the benefits, or rather not lose the price benefits of holding over time. Yeah. So those are some of the things that we have.
But do you think it's a part of what the government is addressing? I was actually taking a look at this, and so far, when we talk about grains, rice is what comes up. We heard about the silos, and all that, that agreement being signed and whatnot. How much difference do you think that will make? Because, and again, just going back to what you said earlier about, you said generally speaking, we should, expect an increase during this period. So is it as a result of the rains, which you mentioned earlier, or the fact that we're drawing closer to the Yuletide season? Is there much more?
Right now, we're still a bit far off from the Yuletide season for it to have any real effects. The main thing is that everybody plants at the same time because it's rain-fed. So in another month or so, expect to have prices drop.
I see. Or do we really have, wait, in another month or so? Another month or so will be October.
Yes.
That's just 2 months away from December.
Yes.
And then these traders begin to factor this in to start with.
Yeah, you're going to see. Yeah. You're going to see prices drop in October.
Okay.
Definitely.
And then pick up again.
And then by December it's going to go up again. And then come down a bit in January, and then till about July before it starts going up because people are then planting. Yeah. You mentioned about what other factors really, so we keep saying population is growing, and if we were to keep up, would be expanding production by at least 3% to match population growth rates, year on year. We're not doing that. We're definitely not doing that. The bulk of the farming is still done by,
just really peasant farmers. So basically, we have to move up. We have to scale up on commercial agriculture to be able to address this. Couple of issues you've mentioned there. The fact that, of course, farming is still done on a subsistence level to start with. They do not have the infrastructure to store up the produce that we get. Transportation and packaging is another issue. Then we have the rains to contend with. But then if you say we're likely to see a drop sometime in October. I think that's something to look forward to. Can I just ask, let me just squeeze in one question. What's really responsible for that spike we see in December? I mean, if it's dropping in October, it's just a month difference. What happens? More rains?
No, not at all. You know, it's everybody is trying to take advantage of the fact that prices are depressed at that time. You know, so you have industrial buyers coming in. You know, because if it's grains, the grains are relatively dry.
Yes.
You know, and they can now be bought. You know, so there generally is a market sweep in December. Then you combine it with increased personal demand around the Yuletide season, and what you have is a demand pressure that leads to increase in prices.
All right then. Well, thank you so much for your contribution.